That nigga behind you going, yeah, son, I'm with my girl, but yo, for real? That white woman's amazing, isn't she? Tell the truth. He's with his black girlfriend, like, nah, I don't know, but she's high level. That's a high level white woman right there. That white woman is man, oh man, oh man. Black women get mad at that, but that is top shelf white woman right there. You know how you can tell how pretty a white woman is? The value, you look at her and then you wonder how long they would look for if she was missing. Come on, take a look. Take a look. Look at this nigga. Look. I saw you look mad, sweetie. How long if you was missing? How long you think they would? How long you think they would? Exactly. She don't even. She went. You know the deal. I ain't saying nothing wrong. White woman's life is valuable. What's his name? Joran Vandersloot, right? We find out he was a serial man. He kills women. That's what he do. He do it well. You know what I mean? We know the girl that he supposedly had. What's the girl in Aruba? Natalie Holloway, right? But the one he just killed the girl in Peru. What's her name? Exactly.
So that video was from comedian Patrice O'Neal. And as you can see from the content, he was talking about years ago about how women, the difference in a white woman being looked for and a woman of color from Peru being looked for. And that's going to be the topic of the conversation tonight. Is the missing white woman syndrome, is it real, or do people of color use color to explain everything? I decided to do this topic for obvious reasons, of course, because of so many missing African American women and men, and they don't get the coverage that a lot of white women are getting. Now, there was a big to do about Gabby Petito, and rest in peace to her. And I like to give her family my condolences, and not to say that she should not have been looked for, because being a mother myself and being a mother of a daughter, I could not imagine what would happen, how I would, react if something happened to my daughter and she came up missing. So I don't want to be disrespectful in saying that she should not have been looked for, but there has been a lot, to come out about her disappearance, with the FBI getting involved, and they spending a lot of taxpayers' money and resources to look for her, and African Americans don't get the same results. So that's what I want to talk about today, and I would like to get your reaction to that. Earlier today, when I posted the topic for tonight, I already got a response back from someone. And when I posed the question, they said, no, not real. If Gabby and Brian were Black, how would this case have received less attention? How would she have been loved less by anyone? Please stop it already. So that's one of the comments that have come through already. So that's, what got me to thinking. So is the missing white woman syndrome, is it a myth, or is it something that people of color just make up, and that we complain too much, when something happens in other communities, and as opposed to the same results as what happened in our community? So I put the link to the discussion in the chat, and if you would like to come up and give your opinion about that, I would welcome that. I see we have one person in the chat already, Community Solutions Pro. Thank you for joining tonight. And if you'd like to come up, just let me know and I can go ahead and bring you up to give your views on the topic for tonight. And I also want to play another clip. This clip is from Joy Reid, where she was discussing the matter on the missing white woman syndrome. So I'm going to go ahead and play that clip. You all have probably already seen it, but just in case for you all who haven't, I'm going to go ahead and play that.
On Twitter or TikTok, you're probably familiar with the name Gabby Petito, the 22-year-old aspiring social media influencer who was reported missing after her fiance returned from their van life excursion without her. On Sunday, human remains believed to be Petito's were found in a national park in Wyoming. An autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow to confirm the identity. Now, it goes without saying that no family should ever have to endure that kind of pain, and the Petito family certainly deserves answers and justice. But the way this story has captivated the nation has many wondering, why not the same media attention when people of color go missing? Well, the answer actually has a name: missing white woman syndrome, the term coined by the late and great Gwen Ifill to describe the media and public fascination with missing white women like Laci Peterson or Natalie Holloway, while ignoring cases involving missing people of color. Joining me now is Derica Wilson, co-founder and CEO of the Black and Missing Foundation, and Lynette Gray Bull, founder of Not Our Native Daughters, an organization created for the awareness of the missing, exploited, and murdered Indigenous women and children. Thank you both for being here. You know, I bring up this point because there's a case that's so similar. A journalist friend of mine, Derica, sent me this story about a young, about some other people that are missing. There's one guy whose name is Daniel Robinson. Daniel Robinson is a young Black man. He's only 24 years old, 5'8", 165, black hair, brown eyes. That's his description. His dad has hired a private investigator to find him. He's missing part of an arm. He was last seen driving away from his job site in the Buckeye, Arizona desert on June 23rd. And his case struck me because it's very similar. He's missing in the same part of the world. It's a case that it has all of that same kind of sizzle, the sort of mystery of it. This young man who just goes missing. I never heard of it until this friend of mine sent it to me. And I guess that's the issue, isn't it?
It is definitely the issue. And we have been sounding the alarm for nearly 14 years because of this. When it comes to missing persons of color, men, women, and children, our cases are not taken seriously. And no one is looking for us if we were to go missing.
There's also, Lynette, and thank you for being here as well. This is an FBI poster I'm going to put out. This is Element One for my producers. And this is a missing poster of someone named Mary Johnson. Ms. Johnson is a Native American woman who went missing from the Tulalip Reservation in Washington State. And this is back in November of last year. I never heard of this case either. And again, let's put up the statistics. In terms of the disparities in media coverage for runaways, a lot of minority children are initially classified as runaways. You have missing minority adults are often labeled as being associated with criminal involvement, gangs, or drugs. There's a certain desensitization, according to the Black and Missing Foundation. It's believed that missing minorities live in impoverished conditions and crime as a regular part of their lives. So it's sort of dismissed. And that's from the Black and Missing Foundation's data. From your point of view, why is it that Indigenous missing, particularly women, don't get that kind of attention?
You know what? I think there's a lot of factors on why there's an MMIW movement. But one of the main factors and one of the key factors that a lot of people don't want to talk about is that it's racism. It's systemic racism. We're still fighting oppression in our tribal communities. We are still facing inequality across the board, whether it comes to our community, housing, jobs. I mean, you can pick any topic in any country and there's an issue there. So and it's no different when it comes to missing, murdered, and Indigenous women and girls.
And there's a case, to stay with you for a moment, Lynette. There's a Dateline did a story about, there's a woman named Carla Yellowbird. She disappeared in 2016. You were quoted in this story talking about her. And this is a case that is so long ago. You know, it was obviously during a presidential election year. There was a lot going on. How can we do better in terms of getting that same kind of attention? This is not a young, you know, sort of blonde white woman. And so the media sort of lets it go.
Yeah, I think everybody plays a part. I think it's when we talk about, you know, we talk about law enforcement, we talk about media coverage. You know, if you don't have blonde hair and blue eyes, I mean, our stories do not make it to the 6 o'clock news. We barely may get a story into the paper. You know, however, I just think it takes everybody coming to the table, addressing the issue, being accountable, and making sure that when somebody goes missing or murdered in our community, that it's equally presented and have a sense of urgency.
And the same question to you, Derica. I got to know the Black and Missing Foundation back when I was working for the GRIO, and we connected with you all trying to find ways that we could boost some of these cases, including using social media. You know, give the media a little critique. What can we do differently and do better?
You know, we can't always wait on the 5 and 10 o'clock news cycle. We have to get these profiles out there. We have to tell the stories of our missing. One of the things that we also need to change the narrative on is the decision makers in the newsroom. Majority of them are white men, middle-aged, and our cases are just not sensational.
Okay, so you saw the video, and hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, Criminality Online. How are you tonight,
I'm
this
doing
evening?
good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm glad you can join me. I'm glad you can join me.
Yeah, me too. We actually touched on this on a panel last night.
Oh, did you?
Safety and missing people. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. And what was because I missed that. I try to follow everybody who, kinds of, that I see in the chat, but sometimes, people go on at the same time. So I kind of hop around to different platforms to see who's doing what. So I think I missed that one. I'm gonna have to watch that one on the replay. So whose platform was that one on?
That was Miss B Finesse
Okay.
platform. We talked about safety, for different tactics we use to stay safe. And because we were talking about how a lot of folks are coming, she was saying how a lot of folks are coming up missing. And I just
Mm-hmm.
saw today, I was very, very, very disturbed to find out the young man looked like, I think he was going to medical school, and they
Yes.
found out his organs was missing. I was just so disgusted by that. I just, it sickens me. It
Yeah.
sickens me.
Yeah, I mean that, and I don't know if you remember, there was a case similar to that, a few years ago. Kind of the same thing. That when they found the young man, they said that some of his organs had been missing. Also, it was also an African American young man. His name escapes me right now, but it was kind of the same circumstances. So I don't know what's going on, but it well, there's another clip that I'm going to play. I want us to discuss it for a minute, but there was another guy on another newscast, something like the Fox channel, and he was saying that Joy Reid should apologize to Gabby Petito's family, that he thought that was very disrespectful for her to say that. And he was kind of alluding to the fact that he thinks people of color, whenever something goes on, that we always scream that it's about race. And he was basically saying that why does everything have to be about race? And which is not, but I mean, let's just call it what it is. It is pretty obvious, what it's about. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that it's
Well,
all just a
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Finish your thought.
No, no, go ahead. I was just saying, do you think that it's something that we kind of make up and that we use color, as an excuse for everything, or do you think that the media actually, shows more coverage to other races?
No, actually, it is a problem, and Joy Reid didn't. She didn't lie.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't lie. Nobody's negating that they're sorry what happened to this Petito lady, young lady.
Yes.
Nobody's saying that. We're not competing for that. But what we're saying is that give the same coverage. I've been hearing about like the Native women. They have a real big problem coming up missing.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember they're supposed to be a closed community because they're on reservations and they're
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And so, I think that this must be something with the dark web, people organ, some kind of organ harvesting thing with these
Yeah.
young people, because a lot of our information is on the dark web. It's sadly
Mm-hmm.
it's sad to say, everybody, all of us,
Yeah.
the rich and the poor. And
Yeah.
folks who got resources and they need a kidney, they need a pancreas or whatever, unfortunately, they think that life is cheap and, yeah, I need the kidney, you don't need it, you're not doing anything, so they disgustingly just dismiss other human beings, um, uh, um, their right to live. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the only thing other than those two areas of legal organ trafficking and those prostitution rings, sex trafficking. That's the only two reasons I could see why people are snatching people, and it's bad. And I didn't had some people follow me real close. You a little
Really?
too close. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're a little too close, and there's no reason to be in my personal space like that. So I'm very conscientious about what's going on around me. You
Yes.
know, so yeah, no, I don't think that she owes an apology. Neither does that newscaster, that Caucasian gentleman who made a mention about it too. He made a mention, and I think he got indefinitely suspended or fired or something. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
they're not lying. They're not telling the untruth.
Yeah.
You know.
Hello. She stole my thunder. How you doing tonight?
Hello, I'm doing very well. How is everybody else here?
Great,
Good.
great.
Good.
How are
Good.
Excellent.
you?
I'm
I'm
good. I'm good.
glad you can
Thank you.
join us. I'm sorry I missed your live the other night. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that on replay. I know with um before the billions, he does really, really great live streams. I think last night the one he did was like 10 hours. I'm like, oh my goodness, he's catching up with the lead attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I
That
was
is
on. I started to interrupt. I was on that one, but actually, the one I
mhm.
was planning, it's actually coming up on this weekend, and I was
Okay.
simply inviting you as a guest. If you're still able to make it, great, fantastic. You're definitely more than welcome to join. But yeah, it's coming up, so you didn't miss anything. So
Okay.
yeah,
What
yeah.
time is that one?
It's going to be on Saturday at 8 p.m.
Okay.
Everything Woodland. So again, the invitation is still open to you and to Community Solutions as well.
Okay.
Even if it's just to watch, fine. It's we're going to be talking about movies. We haven't set a specific topic just yet, but yeah, for sure. Like I
Okay.
said, open an invitation to both of you and to anybody else who's listening.
And what time
Okay.
is that going to be tomorrow?
Saturday on at 8
Oh,
p.m.
Saturday.
Yeah,
Okay,
Saturday
great.
Eastern Standard Time. So I don't know what time it is
Okay.
in your areas, but yeah.
It'll be Eastern. I'll be back in Massachusetts. I'm in Louisiana, but I leave out tomorrow, so it'll be
Okay,
Eastern for
cool.
me as well.
Excellent.
Okay. Okay, ladies, give me 1 second. I'm gonna play this last clip, and we can finish discussing this one with the guy was talking about Joy Reid and her apology. Give me 1 second.
To talk about a heartbreaking news story from America, which has captivated people from all over the world. The murder of 22-year-old influencer Gabby Petito. Miss Petito's body was found in a remote national park in Wyoming on Sunday, and a medical examiner determined that she had been killed. Her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, was captured on police camera footage after an altercation with Gabby days before her murder. He is the prime suspect and has been missing since September 17. He also refused to talk to police in the early days of the search with Gabby. It was a story which broke the hearts of her social media followers, of which there are 100,000 on YouTube and now more than 1 million on Instagram. But in America, the coverage quickly turned nasty and race-obsessed. Barely days after her parents were told a body had been found, the media started arguing that the only reason people cared about this case was the color of her skin.
But the way this story has captivated the nation has many wondering, why not the same media attention when people of color go missing? Well, the answer actually has a name: missing white woman syndrome, the term coined by the late and great Gwen Ifill to describe the media and public fascination with missing white women like Lacey Peterson or Natalie Holloway, while ignoring cases involving missing people of color.
Joy Reid is a disgusting person for trying to turn this story into one of race. People wanted to know how a seemingly perfect, bubbly couple with a large social media following could face such a tragic end. And CNN's Don Lemon upped the ante, suggesting the police were racist by not physically forcing Brian to speak against his will, supposedly throwing out his right to silence.
You ask any person of color, you ask a black man if they have that sort of privilege. Ask a poor white person.
It's not a privilege.
No,
it's
hold
a
on.
right.
I know
okay?
that. I know, but most people don't know that. They're not treated that way by law enforcement. Even if you think that, cops are the good guys, yeah, many times they are. But many times they aren't, especially when it comes to people of color and poor people in the society who don't have the means to be able to stand behind a lawyer and not go to speak. Do you think like someone who, a Don Lemon, if I wasn't who I am, they'd be like, hey, get your butt in here. What do you know about the disappearance of such and such? Why won't you talk? Oh, do you need a lawyer because you're guilty? All of that would go down.
CNN's Chris Como rightly retorted that the right to remain silent was not white privilege, but a basic right for everyone. But this is the result if you do your journalism through the lens of critical race theory and identity politics. Reality doesn't matter. You turn the murder of a young woman into a deranged activist talking point. Joy Reid in particular owes Gabby's family an apology. Because if you cared about this story and the pain her family is feeling, that doesn't make you a racist. It makes you human.
So you all heard that. So what do you think that he called Joy Reid disgusting? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Go,
Go ahead, community.
No, I was going to tell you to go ahead because I've spoken already, but I'll say something after you say something.
Okay, thank you. To me, it's the whole coverage of that particular case was done wrong in so many different ways, including race. And it's not just, and I, in actually the live stream last night of Before the Billions, we mentioned a little bit briefly about how sometimes racism isn't always very overt. It's not always something that somebody's calling you the N-word. So how do you explain those differences in how we as Black women get treated? And that isn't always necessarily very obvious and very blatantly, okay, this person is saying this because of my race. And that does happen in journalism in particular when you have stories like these that are getting covered. Because I've noticed that, and I'm glad Community Solutions mentioned it earlier as well, with Aboriginal women as well, and Native American women, because I'm Canadian, there's a large percentage of Native women that go missing or are murdered, and there's just no investment that's made into these cases, and you have to ask yourself why are these women, are they not as important as the rest of us? Are they not, you have to ask, what's the difference? is it really just because, well, oh, it's geography, or is it a race a factor? It it is always a factor whether we want to accept it or not. It may not always be the major factor. It may not be the principal reason. And in my comment, I had mentioned as well that it's not even just how often the stories get covered. Sometimes it's how the stories get covered, the language that's being used to describe the victims. If the person had a criminal history, or the young girl ran away, or maybe she was in illegal adult activities, they'll start with that in how they describe that person. Oh, this person was an ex-con. Oh, she was a streetwalker, to sort of degrade them a little bit as well. So they're not just a random victim who happened to be doing illicit activities. It's no, this bad person had a bad thing happen to them. So why should we feel bad for them? While as if it was a white girl, they might not necessarily have given that kind of language. It would have been something that several days, several weeks, or maybe even never, something to be discovered. I think even with Gabby, they discovered later on that the boyfriend, maybe, was doing something to her and had maybe hit her or abused her or something like that. But yet in, the way I think by the accent, the guy was Australian or maybe South African. He presented as these two perfect little wholesome couple. And it's like, later on, it's like, no, they were the boyfriend at the very least was far from that. He was definitely, that, but yet that's the instinct that we have with white couples, or white people in general. And obviously these are generalities here. We tend to present them in very perfect, oh, they're wonderful, and then later on, oh, we found out that the boyfriend did something to her, or had done, it's yet with the black people it's the other way around, or ethnic minorities or part people, it's the other way around. We talk about the bad things first, and then, oh, these poor innocent people were.
Yeah. I mean, and just look at how the difference in the way the police handled Brian. They put him up in a hotel. I mean, I'm like, a hotel? When did they start putting people paying for hotel rooms and putting people up in hotels outside? This is the first for me. I've never heard that. I mean,
Neither have
that was
I.
crazy. That was
Wow.
crazy in itself. Yeah, they put him up in a hotel for the night, and I'm like, okay. So yeah, and then even with her, like I said, rest in peace to her. But it was like I feel also that they really did not handle the entire situation, because as it turns out, they were looking more to her, like she was the one who assaulted him instead of the other way around. And so all of that pretty much gave him, the leeway to do what ended up, happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
another thing is that point that Don Lemon made was very accurate, and it's funny how Cuomo and the other guy, that other reporter, dismissed it, but it's like you can see it when you look at footage. You can see the differences in treatment and that the law enforcement get you. You don't. I mean, it's like you hide your head in the sand,
Yeah.
um, you know, on these issues. But that kid that disappeared, that was going to medical school, I only heard about him through Facebook. That's just through regular people sharing the information. I didn't see it on national news.
Yeah. And I heard also that they had already found his body, and before they even, so in other words, they had his body for at least 2 weeks before his mother was finally notified that he had been there all that time. So she was, they were still out basically looking for him, and they had him, and they had his body, in custody, all that time. And I'm like, what? So they didn't try to notify anybody? Yeah, the whole situation is just really weird. It's just really
It
weird.
is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's disgusting to me in the whole, in not in just this situation, but in several situations. It's a lot of little things that happen,
Hmm.
like you said, the not notifying the victim's family, the putting up a suspect in a hotel. I mean, if it's just one thing, one time, okay, it can happen. It might be a bad decision on the part of a one, but when you consistently see that all these things are allowed to happen systematically, you then have to wonder: is there a pattern? Is there an underlying motive that's going on here? Is there something more nefarious? And
Mm-hmm.
to sort of talk about what community solution I mentioned earlier, that is it possible that there's something like organ trafficking or something else that goes on? And maybe there is people, I'm sorry to say this, that maybe, the police or certain police members might be involved in that as well. Because a lot of these things don't happen without the authorities being involved to some degree, either as individuals or as a group, unfortunately, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's, to me, I kind of, when I hear these stories of a suspect being put up in a hotel, what black suspect would be put up into a hotel for interrogation? I don't think if the police suspected me of a crime, I know I would not get put up in a hotel. That would
Yeah.
not happen at all. I don't, you know what I mean? It's like that's not happening. It's either I'm spending the night at jail or I'm spending the night at home if
Yeah.
it's a minor thing,
Yeah.
But
Somebody's going to jail.
yeah,
Somebody is definitely
exactly.
going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
I am not
They're
going
not
to
going to
the
just say go to your opposite corners and nobody goes to jail.
eh,
We have a
Mhm.
exactly.
comment. We have a comment that Unheard PFL says. Let me go back. Gabby was the aggressor because she left physical and visual marks on him.
Mm.
But didn't they say now? I think they said they showed a video of her and she did have like a bruise or something on her back. So kind of with the lifestyle that they were living, with them, living out, you know, outside basically and living in a van. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why she could have gotten that bruise on her back. I mean, not to say that he didn't, which I do believe that he was abusing her, but we don't know for sure how she got the bruise on her back. But I did see that on another channel.
Yeah, I think I do remember seeing the video, and it was literally him going after her. But like you said, who knows how she got the bruise or when, or even during the physical altercation, she could have been trying to defend herself and put it up, or maybe as he's hitting her, she's trying to fight back, and got that bruise that way as well too. But there's so many different ways that because I think you can't look at the bruise and tell about how old it is, depending on the size and coloration as well. Obviously, I'm not a medical expert here, so I'd have a hard time saying. But yeah, I mean, when you're in a physical altercation, whether it's you going after the other person or the other person going after you, there's lots of little nicks and bruises and cuts that could happen in a whole multitude of different ways. So
Yeah. Hmm. And also, I'm gonna tell you, from working in the medical field, Caucasian people bruise easily.
Yeah.
okay,
So you're right. If they were camping, if she slept on a rock, or the van life, I don't know. It could have been a myriad, and that's not to say that, like you said, that he wasn't striking her, but that is something to factor in. But we've got some good technology that should be able to really draw the truth out
Exactly.
uh, on
mm,
that.
Yeah, exactly. And now another thing I've heard, this has been like a couple of years ago, that with a lot of people that live on the reservations, I guess they try to make an excuse that because on some of the reservations they have their own police departments and things like that, and that they don't really have authority to go, if a woman comes up missing, that they don't really have the authority to go onto the reservation to do an investigation on that. So I don't know how true that is, or where the lines are drawn, or if it at some point it becomes federal, and that the feds have the right, even though it's a private reservation, that they can go on and do an investigation. I'm not really sure as to how that goes, but a lot of the media, I see that they try to use that as an excuse, like, oh, well, that's why we can't really investigate, because we don't have authority to go on to their reservation or their land to find out what's going on with the missing women.
But
So
they seem to find authority when if they need land rights, or if they
yeah,
find oil,
yeah,
they find the authority to go over there then. And
exactly.
then probably the reservations are short man, they're huge areas of land, probably got one sheriff, one, what I mean. And it's
Hmm.
very easy to just go in there and snatch somebody up, and because these people are they're ruthless, and they're very, the evil, they find a way. And these little towns with these one sheriff, one deputy, one, what I mean, low
Hmm.
resources. I don't know if the natives are still a sovereign nation whereby everything is just hinged upon them. That which is why the casinos are used as a revenue source of revenue for the people.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they find rights when it's something for them to benefit financially. They find a way to get
Yeah.
over there, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah. They find a way to overwrite that. You exactly
Hmm.
right about that. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Oh God. And what about the other case, the other guy, young man, Daniel, the one who's a geologist, he's also missing as well. And his dad couldn't get, any help with trying to locate him. So he had to do like a GoFundMe to try to raise money, because he, I guess ran out of resources to try to find him. But they found his Jeep like upside down, and just no trace of him, and nobody's heard of him. And the dad, like I said, he couldn't get any assistance with trying to locate him as well.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I love traveling and road trips, but I'm
Hmm.
gonna tell my people, y'all gotta be careful. It's still sundown towns out here.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
sundown towns. You travel in packs. Have your phone with you. Have some sort of evidence, and letting people know where you at. If you're being followed, if somebody is targeting you, I'm snapping pictures. I'm putting your behind on Facebook. So if something happened to me, everybody, and this is why I love it, because when the Karens want to act a fool, the Victoria's Secret Karen and all of them,
Oh yeah.
everybody, people in Europe saw that. So now, we see your dirty underwear, lady. But what I want to tell you is that when I travel, it's a strategy you have to have when you're traveling while black. Because even on one of the van life ladies I was watching the other day, she says that people will walk up to her, is that your van? And they're taking their phone out and just videotaping her going about her business. So
Wow.
we have to
It's
be
crazy.
very strategic. If we're feeling targeted, I have my phone ready. Listen, baby, you about to be famous, so smile, because you're going on Facebook, and my 900 friends they're gonna be looking for you, okay? Or if somebody gonna pass your photo around, and guess what? Then you're gonna be the joke is gonna be on you, and it's not a funny joke, because
Yeah.
once people see you, like that family that was being targeted by the neighbor,
Hmm.
they went on CNN. I say, now see, now everybody's know your, oh, that's so and so, how that's the Smith house, ain't it? They doing that to those people. Oh yeah, no, it's not pretty. It's not pretty when you're discovered. You get harassed, you get death threats, you get all that stuff that you targeted those people with. You get it back tenfold, because now everybody around the world has seen you and what you do.
Yeah. We have another guest who joined the panel on her PFL. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Hey,
Is he muted?
are you muted? I think he's unmuted.
Uh, I see the chat that he's having trouble with his mic.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'll continue on while we're
Okay.
waiting and giving him a
Yeah.
chance to get that fixed up. But yeah, just to sort of add on to what Community Solutions said, have a GoPro when you're traveling. It's a small little thing. They're fairly inexpensive. That you can have and just record yourself wherever you go and update that regularly to the cloud or to your YouTube account as well, and to sort of document a little bit. I thankfully haven't gone through a lot of racism and things like that, but even a little bit that I've gone through, when I have to tell people, oh, I've been through this experience, I've been through that experience, nobody really believes me. But when you have a video of, this is what I was told, this is what people are doing, then all of a sudden it changes. Like Community Solutions, put people on blast. They come up with you in a 10,000 question. What about this? What about that? Da, 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 da. Put them on blast for it. Don't be afraid to interact with these individuals as well. They ask you questions, ask them 10,000 questions.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when they start asking you questions, they just expect you to be quiet and answer. But if you start asking them questions, the same kind of questions in the same tone, all of a sudden things change quite often.
And
Well,
also, I
Herb, you
want to
ready?
mention that. Oh, sorry.
Is he ready? Oh, I don't think so. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Community Solutions. Sorry.
No,
Interrupt.
I just wanted to mention while it was on my mind that body cams are available on Amazon. As I'm actually going to get one. Body cams are available. So
That's true.
yeah. So that's a
Like
good
the
thing
ones
to
that
have.
the police use.
No, they're I think they're smaller. The ones the
Oh, okay.
police use are real big and heavy and bulky. The ones that they have available on Amazon are smaller, and I don't know if you just put the SD card in there and it just records. So yeah, so that's a good thing to have when you're in a situation where it could be a vulnerable situation. It's a good investment. I think I saw them as low even as $50 or $60. So
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there's definitely a lot of little things that you can do, and I mean, if you're willing, get that gun training as well. If you're willing to do that as well, or get training on how to handle a knife. There's no such thing as too much defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And also the young lady from Florida, I think her name is Mia McConnell, um, who was I'm trying to use my words wisely because
Mhm.
you can't say certain words on YouTube,
Yeah.
but by the maintenance guy, and then he ended up harming himself afterwards. And I mean, it was kind of the same situation. There was a delay in getting police to look for her, and they even talked to the maintenance guy, and they were joking around with him when they were talking to him instead of asking him serious questions. And it was more like he and the police officer who was talking to him, they were kind of like joking around, like, hey man, you know how sometimes when guys get together, like, oh yeah,
Mm,
something, they just think I'm doing something to her, and with the little buddy thing, instead of
yeah.
taking the situation serious. And maybe they could have had more time to actually to look for her. So they were just wasting time. And you don't know if he had her there at somewhere tied up or whatever, while you wasting time dragging on the investigation. And of course, well, we know the outcome of that too. A beautiful 19-year-old young lady. And it's just really scary. And like you were just talking about, with the different types of protection and everything, it's like we always have to be, as women, we always have to like watch our surroundings and kind of do more than what we normally do, because it's like you always have someone what who's trying to victimize you. Like there's a story that happened here in Atlanta. I live in Atlanta last week. They have guys going around posing like they're like they're delivering flowers, like they're Amazon delivery people, like they're UPS people, and I don't know where they're getting these uniforms from. And they also have these minivans. And one incident, the lady, the guy knocked on the door and he told her that he was delivering flowers. So I don't know why she would let him in. And you're not expecting flowers, but she let him in, and he goes, "Well, can I come in and sit him down?" So she lets him in the house to sit the flowers down. I'm like, oh my goodness, please. So luckily, she survived that situation. She ran upstairs to get her weapon, and by the time she came back, downstairs, he had jumped in the van and left. So I think they also target, they kind of watch you and know if you have a man coming in and out, and know if you're single, and they're victimizing single women.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, can you hear us now? Still not. Okay. Yeah, so
There
it's
was
like
another case. Did you see the lady in Texas that the guy, he's just following her, and she got him on camera, her Ring camera. She's a single mother, and he's trying to talk to her, knocking on her door. He know what car she drive. She goes to the police. She goes for help. They just dismiss her. They keep dismissing her. He's harassing her, and she don't know him from a can of paint. You know. And so a YouTuber, Paris Milan, brought this case to the attention so that her followers can follow up on that stuff, because you have to get behind these people. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear that she's a single mother. I don't want to hear that something that happened to her and she came to y'all for help. She's not bothering anybody. She's minding her own business in her place, and this guy knows where she lives. He knows what car she drives. That's another thing. I taught my roommate, you gotta always check your rearview mirror, because people follow you.
Yes.
They'll follow you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I don't know if y'all heard about I'm sorry. I keep talking about cases going on in Atlanta. I mean, these are I guess the ones that kind of stick out to me. And these are all recent, cases. There was a young lady who she was out in Piedmont Park walking her dog, and she has a pit bull. So you would think that most people are afraid of pit bulls because they have that reputation, of being aggressive, which they all are not aggressive, but they just have that reputation. And she's at the, Piedmont Park, just minding her business. And a guy, I guess it wasn't a guy, they still haven't caught the perpetrator yet, attacked her, and he ended up stabbing her and the dog.
Wow.
And she was a bartender here, one of the bars here in Atlanta. A few weeks later, another young lady, who also worked in a bar, she would, every night before she got out, she would call her boyfriend and tell her, let him know that she was on her way home, so that he would be looking out for her. So he said he heard her car pull up in the driveway, but she never came in the house. So when he went to look outside the window, he sees a guy forcing her by gunpoint back out to his car. So he called, 911, and they and he was on the phone with 911 saying, I'm watching him. He's, taking her to the van, and he has a gun, and he's just in disbelief. And they ended up finding her the same night, maybe like in 30 minutes or an hour later. And this guy, he followed her, from apparently from the bar that she worked at. And like you were saying, I guess, it's late at night, she's tired, she just has her mind on, getting home. She's not paying attention to, maybe somebody following her, turning left when she turns left, turning right when she's turned right. She's not paying attention to that. And it was at night, so it's not as obvious, as it would be during the day. And she, probably just wasn't even paying attention. And the guy followed her home, and it was probably somebody who, frequented the bar that she worked in all the time, and just kind of had his eye on her. and
Yeah, I saw that case too.
yeah,
I
you
saw
saw that
that.
one. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was just ironic, they thought maybe that someone was targeting, people, women that worked in bars, but it was just ironic that they both, ended up, working in bars. So, but they did catch him, but they still, the case with the lady in Piedmont Park, they still have not solved that case yet. But yeah, like you said, you have to be, aware of your surroundings, and I think too, I hear a lot of people say that if you if you get off work and you come home around the same time, kind of change your schedule, so that people, they think, okay, well, she usually gets in about 9 o'clock, 9:30 or whatever. If you get home a little earlier or a little bit later to kind of throw people off, so that they don't know what time that you're getting off every night. And it's so sad that we have to do that as women. It's just so sad we have to go through all these different tactics, to keep, from becoming victim to whatever these people have on their mind.
Yeah, it is sad. It is sad. You have to try to stay 10 steps ahead of them because, I mean, they just sit around and live and think about how to harm other people and how to go about taking, their right to just live in peace and not be bothered.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like the girl who got bit in the face.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's just
I remember that. Is that the one when she was leaving the liquor store?
Mm-hmm. She went to the store. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she had her kid in the car, didn't she?
I think she was on her way to pick her kids up or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And see, that's
What were you
another
about
thing
to
too. I'm sorry. Go ahead. She stole my son's thunder.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, it's just I was gonna say that yes, it is sad, but we're also at a quote unquote biological disadvantage. We're not, as much as we like to think that we're big and strong. I know at my size, a guy wants to go after me, it's gonna happen regardless.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to think about it a little bit more, because if a guy gets attacked by surprise, he has at least a physical advantage, or at least an equal footing as the other person. While as me, I don't have that equal footing, so I have to give myself that equal footing. By having a dog, having a knife, having this, having that, having whatever it takes. And like you guys have said, be aware of your surroundings, even if you're tired, even if it's late at night. Know all the different. Somebody's following me. How do I get them off my tail? How do I get rid of them? Where can I go for that?
Yeah.
Hello?
And then hey, you here?
Hey, I had to resort to using my phone. I don't know what's going on with my headset.
Okay.
Thank y'all
We're
for
glad
having
you
me.
can join us.
Yes, ma'am.
So how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
We're doing good. I'm doing good,
Awesome,
ladies.
awesome. Ladies,
So
that's right.
let's get a male perspective on this topic. What do you think about this?
Which topic were we on? Because I'm back and forth between Petito and all the other stuff trying to set up this microphone.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So we were just talking. The last thing we were talking about how women should, I guess, try to change their course as to watching their surroundings and what things that we can do to kind of protect ourselves. That's the last subject we were talking about. But of course, we started off talking about the not necessarily the Gabby Petito case, and
Yes, ma'am.
if the I guess the media, if they're more in favor of, I guess, Caucasian women, and women of color don't get the same coverage as other cases do, because some of the cases, that we were talking about, people did not hear about them until later, and
Yes,
they didn't get.
yes.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about that?
First off, I do believe that a woman, uh, in two parts here, a woman should not have to watch her back. Personally,
Yeah.
Men should be able to leave women alone and let women do as men would do themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I also say that women should have the right to protect themselves at all costs within their person. I totally agree with that. Now that veers back to men should stop being dogs. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of men out there that are dogs. Far as the coverage difference, I really think it's a media setup at the moment. I really do, because there are hundreds and hundreds of cases that happen, I would say monthly, if not weekly, that don't get covered at all. You know, and to sit and cherry pick and say, oh, well, this happened here and this happened here. Well, the media is only going to go, and we probably all know the media is only going to grow what's going to cover revenue. So the more money they can make, the more they're going to cover it. So if, I hate it, like with the Michael Brown thing was covered for a while, and then it was like it was cut off because, oh, well, they could find a bigger revenue area with another case. So they followed that, which I hate, which is wrong. All deaths or all cases, excuse me, should be covered in the same light. Of course. There's no other reason why not. We're all human.
So
we're all here together.
So are you saying that the media pretty much, like, if they have a story that they think is going to get, I guess, I don't know how many people actually still buy newspaper now, or if everything is just online, but that's going to get them more clicks or sell more papers or get more people to view their channel, that's the case that they're going to cover the most?
100%. They will even lie. They will even lie to get you to click over to their channel. I mean, I'm sure you've seen different news outlets that you've watched one thing and then you go to a different news outlet and they're saying something totally different. And you're like, no, that's a lie. Well, but it got you there. You see what I'm saying? So it's a play. It's all it is. Because in the modern world, since cell phones have been so relative to be able to carry through in your pocket and socialize with friends way out of state, stuff like that, they have actually kind of hook, line, and sinkered everybody into using that against themselves. So it's kind of weird, and that's a media. What I'm saying is they get you sucked into the social stream, and then they just push whatever fish they want into that stream, and you see that fish go by and you say, well, that's that fish, until they throw 400 or 500 of them in there, and then they say, no, this is the most important fish. They're all fish.
Okay.
You know what I find very interesting? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead. No.
I follow true crime as well, and the sleuths. And I've been watching some programs whereby regular people are solving cold cases.
Yes.
You hear what I'm saying? Regular people are solving cold cases. So it's like, wow.
It's actually really funny that you say that, because I got really deep into the Gabby Petito case kind of early on. And when I was actually live streaming with somebody and they said, oh, we have an update, Dog the Bounty Hunter's after it. And I said, well, now this is a media show.
Yeah.
Because think about it. Dog the Bounty Hunter, he was on TV for 5-7 years, something like that. He was making a living off of making video. So if he's going to come out and denounce, oh, well, I'm going to catch him. Well, it's a show from then on.
Yeah.
It's a spectacle. What I would call it.
And John
like
Walsh,
you were saying,
John Walsh also did a story on it as well.
Yes, ma'am. Also, there's another person that's actually been staying outside of the Petito home, which is Brian Enton, and he actually covered. And I have the actual thing when it first came out that the sister was lying to news reporters, and they took her whole section and cut it down to 45 seconds. And Brian Enton covered that on live news, which was totally false, how they portrayed the sister as lying to news reporters that she was hiding something. And then if you go watch the full 9-minute clip of her interview, she says nothing of the like. The media totally cut it all up, hacked it, and all that stuff, and made her out looking horrible. And It's news coverage.
Yeah.
And like the nice lady was saying before, independent people are solving crimes all the time. I mean, look at the people that use satellite imagery and say, wait, that doesn't fit in the river correctly. What is that? And then they have somebody go and check and find out it's a 30-year-old mystery that was solved off of satellite imagery.
Yeah.
Just because people do that, and it's amazing. It's great. It's really great. But there's a lot of people out there giving misinformation as well.
So why do you think that, just regular citizens, or what they call them internet sleuths, are able to solve these cases, but the police departments are not able to solve them?
They're not driven by financial gain. I mean, anytime a police department, let's just say a drug bust, they make a big drug bust. Well, the amount of money that it took for them to make that drug bust, well, it's tacked on to, they can have more money now to make better bust. So it's a money obligation. I mean, think about all the counties and all the states and all the cities across the nation, how much money that the police force is actually getting, which is a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, they're doing their job. If they're getting, the heroin or, let's say thousands of pounds of marijuana off the street, I mean, that's cool. I mean, that's what they're there for. Far as some other things, I really don't agree with the civilian aspect and some parts, because I think, I mean, it's hard to say because we're not there one-on-one when the interaction takes place. So we don't know what's going through the person's mind via, citizen versus police officer. We don't know. So it's kind of speculation. We try and hit the facts right off the head from body camera. But like I was saying, I really think there are police officers out there that try and do a good job, and they try to use your heart. And that's another reason why I was saying independent people looking online, trying to find clues, are finding these clues, is because they're doing it from their heart. They're not doing it because they're financially being paid to do that. So it's a difference. Like the whole point of they were looking in the swamps for Brian Laundrie. I really, really, really thought from the very beginning that was a bad idea, because anything that you see with Brian Laundrie, he's in dry climate. So he's not used to marsh or wetlands or anything like that. If they were doing anything, they were looking for some type of a weapon, but they were not trying to find his person. So they were using a lot of money and a lot of resources to go through a swamp that they knew that they were not going to find him in. So why were you using that amount of money to do that? And personally, I'm a critic. I'm from Florida, so I'm very critical of that. Sorry, I'm long-winded sometimes.
No, that's no.
Just to add on to that as well, I think not only, you make a great point that, part of it is also, a large part of it is the money that goes into it. But I think part of it as well is the time. For example, let's say I'm a retired cop who's now 65, and I have 20, 30 years of free time to do whatever I want to. Why not take the skills that I learned as a cop and investigate crimes that maybe if I was still a cop, I would not have the time to do, because I have so many active cases to work on, while the priority, like you said, maybe is to do the drug bust rather than the 20-year-old case of the kid that went missing back in 1980 or whatever, that most likely is dead at this point. There's not a whole lot you can do, so
and
now that
and you make a great point. If you have an officer of the law, let's say a detective, right, and he's 65, he just retired, and then all of a sudden he picks up a hobby. He wants to try and solve cold cases. Okay. Well, the difference between the man that just retired at 65 and a 28-year-old male or female that just entered the force on a case that's, let's say, going cold, the male or female that's 65 years old has way more scene intelligence. They have way more evidence intelligence. They have a better thought process. They would be able to look at things differently than somebody that was there at the scene, felt the energy of the scene, and then they just went back and looked at pictures. 10 years down the road, they may say, why didn't I see that right there? And the 65-year-old retiree can look and say, oh, well, that's obvious. I've seen this before.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, man. I love independent detectives, or not independent detectives, but independent, researchers that look into things that people don't look at. I think it's a beautiful thing. And that's what we here in the United States are about. It's coming together to find a certain issue,
Exactly.
Yeah. There's a private detective. I can't remember her name right now. I have to look it up. But when she was in college, her college roommate, she was away, and when she came home, she found her college roommate there, and she had been, killed. And she showed up at the police department, every day. She called. She said it got to the place that whenever she would call, she could hear the police in the background going, no, I'm not taking it, you take it. And they didn't really do anything to solve the case. So that gave her the encouragement to become a private detective, and that's how the case ended up being solved, because she took it upon herself to do the footwork. And so now she's like a very famous detective. I think she's in Tennessee. And she said that's the only way that that case ended up being solved, because she became a private eye, and she kind of got behind it herself to solve that case. So that's another perfect example of trying to, I guess, doing the job that, I don't know, that you say the police are not equipped to do, because I know they have a lot of other cases they have to investigate as well. But sometimes it just seems, just like with them passing her around on the phone, they kind of put it off like, well, we got other things to do, so this is not of importance to us. So now the case is pretty much gone cold. But I hear that there's really no, statute, limitations on, murder, that if they end up finding somebody, 20 years later, they can still end up locking them up. But I guess after so long, like you said, the heat wears off the case, and they go on to the next popular case.
Yeah, I think the initial, I wouldn't say that they. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. I could say after you.
No, ma'am.
Oh.
Ladies first.
Ladies.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No, I was just gonna say that's what it need. That's what we need. Is just for us all to do a community effort. And I mentioned this on the other when we were talking about safety for women. That if we could just set up groups, watch groups among children, and among where we're everybody is kind of watching each other's back, and if something happens, so it's something recorded. But people now have cameras. So many people have cameras now, you can't get away with stuff. But
Yeah.
if we could just put a community effort like the sleuths do, because I will say, I know the police are overwhelmed, because I'm overwhelmed by the crime, and I'm not even a police officer. So I'm not
Amen.
going. Yeah, I'm not going to even say that they just. I don't believe they're just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. Matter of fact, I know they're not.
Yeah.
Well,
So, but if
and
we can work together, go ahead.
I was two things. So talking about I know what detective you're talking about, and I cannot, for the life of me, remember the name.
Yeah.
But
let
I
me
do
see if I
remember
can
hearing the
find it.
story. And it's not that they're not, the police department is not equipped to find the final in this case. I think it's the passion. I think the passion drove her, just like a new detective. When he's on his first crime scene, he's going to have a passion. He's staying up late. He or she's staying up late all night, trying to figure this crime out, stressing his or her family out. Just trying to solve this case. And I think with police, it's, well, we have so many crimes going on. We do have the resources, we do have the equipment, and we can do it, but the length of time is not going to nullify, because, well, we only have a certain amount of funding that we can implement to solve this crime. So I think when it's a passion driven directive, that money is not even an option. It don't even matter to that person. I mean, same with anything. I mean, 1 second, sorry. I lost my train of thought after that second. Basically, I was saying passion is the biggest reason why I believe that woman found her colleagues, roommates, killer, and the police didn't, because the police do show passion at the time, but it's hard for them to keep that passion through lengths of time.
Yeah. I think I just found it.
Far as women protecting themselves, I am full-heartedly Second Amendment. And the reason I say this is because think about this. And the young lady was just saying earlier that, you always want somebody to have your back no matter what. If you're sitting down at a restaurant and everybody's eating casually and everything's good to go, right? Sitting there eating your omelet or whatever you're eating, and somebody busts through the door and starts, I don't know, frantically waving a firearm around, right? So let's just say within that restaurant, 10 to 15 people are concealed carry, and they're proper, they're by rights and all that. They can have each and every person's back within that restaurant to save their life by being able to defend another person's life using the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why there's such a big pushback on that. And I don't understand it, because if we're all here to defend each other and we want the crime gone, it's not that we're trying to be cowboys and Indians. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is we each individually should be able to defend ourselves, but yet we should watch our brothers and sisters at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm pro Second Amendment too, because guess what? The criminals have their weaponry. So
Exactly.
Amen.
And sometimes they have better weapons than the police department. That's crazy.
that's
So
true.
two points I wanted to make. Now, going back to what you said earlier, Community Solutions, about the young lady that was in the liquor store. Now, with that case, there were other men around as well who participated. So whatever happened to, in the press and online, everybody always says protect women, but no, those guys there, they didn't she was by herself, and those guys, instead of them protecting her and say, hey, don't do this to her, just let the lady get in her car and go, they participated in what they were doing to her. So none of those guys came to her rescue to help her and stand up as men. That's one point I wanted to make. And Unheard PFL, I'm so glad that you're here today to get a male perspective, because what do you think about, I know you just said about the Second Amendment, men, like if you were in this said restaurant and you saw a lady being harassed by several different men and she was by herself, would you be the kind of man to like step in and say, hey, don't, leave the lady alone, just let her go or whatever? Or would you just get in your car and say, hey, that has nothing to do with me, just I'm staying out of that? Because I see like we need more participation from men in order for those things to not happen to women.
I agree to what should we do. Far as the harassment, it's case by case. What was she being harassed for? I don't know, and I'm not speculating at this point. I'm just thinking of a woman just having, let's say, 2 to 3 males around her, kind of shoving her in a circle. I don't know. I'm just kind of speculating here.
She was going into a liquor store to purchase a bottle of wine before she went to pick her child up from school or daycare or whatever. And these guys were there just hanging out, loitering, not doing anything. And
That's illegal.
they got mad at her because she wouldn't give her number. And to my understanding, she was polite with them. She didn't get
Yeah.
ugly. But
Right.
I will say that after that story went viral, everybody in that community came together and they picked those guys up.
They should.
Those,
Well, they should be gone. Gone.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna
I
treat
think
if you're
they're
gonna
in
treat a woman
jail.
like that, you're gone.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're in
Sorry.
jail now, but yeah, that community, I got to give them credit. That was in New York. They because people were just flabbergasted. They bit a nice looking woman, bit her in the face. I
Well,
mean,
it
how
shouldn't matter if it's
dastardly.
a nice looking. It shouldn't be. It should have nothing to do upon looks.
Yeah,
It
that's
should,
true.
you
That's
know.
true. But I'm just saying, it was just the. You're right. It has nothing to do with looks. The point is, that you are assaulting somebody and you are disfiguring them and you're taking away their right
Yes.
to just freely do what it is that they do. And
Yes.
but yeah, the citizens of that area came together and got those guys, each and every one of them.
Yep. And they should be. They shouldn't be let out. I mean, if they're gonna assault an innocent woman walking in doing nothing wrong, but trying to go about her day, right? And they go in there and they say, "Give me your number," and she says, "No, I'm getting home to my husband," and they take her against her will. First off, that's kidnapping. Two, she and anybody around witnessing this that did not involve themselves, knowing that she could not defend herself at that time because she was outnumbered by any type, three humans, two humans, she was outnumbered, they should be at fault as well. Personally, that's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because let's just say this. Let's just say this. Say woman walks into the store, walks out, has two males confront her. She says no. They start grabbing her, and she starts fighting back. And then all of a sudden, they just start hauling off, knocking the shit out of her. Or excuse my language. Sorry, sorry, sorry.
You
They just,
can.
they just start hauling off, knocking the mess out of her, right? And somebody across the street is watching this, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?" If you right then and there do not participate in the act of trying to stop that crime being permitted, you should be either fined or jailed for a certain amount of time. You should,
Yeah.
because that would stop the violence. Because who's to say it don't even matter if it's a person. If a camera catches you live and somebody's watching that camera, you can't really pinpoint and say, "Oh, well, you were watching the camera." You don't know that. But at the point in time, that would be evidence being put forth. I don't know all. I don't know everything. I don't. I speculate on a lot of things, but most things I try and run with fact. But if you assault a woman at any point in time, you should go to jail. You should go to jail. Sorry, that's just my outlook. I don't care about it. I mean, I'm very respectful of women, and I will give my light of day to a woman. I just don't. I don't see physically harming a woman being something you can walk away from. And you're saying that they went to jail, which is cool. I would really want to know their names. I want to watch the case and look over it. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know the names, but maybe if you Google the woman in New York who was bit in the face, I'll have to look that up for you. Let me see.
I
Is
found
that
the
recently?
I think it's a few months ago.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I found the name of the private eye. Her name is Sheila Wasaki. Does that sound familiar?
Wasaki.
Yeah, Wasaki. Yeah.
I think it wasn't very covered, but I want to say Sheila rings a bell.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't covered, like you said. It wasn't covered at all.
Yeah.
Until it was solved, which is
Yeah.
sad.
Exactly. And with it being on a college campus, you would think that would have like higher priority, because I'm sure the parents, were afraid, like, oh God, let me get my kid out of the school, with them not solving that case.
Well,
Yeah.
no parent wants a kid or their kid going to any type of schooling and then them possibly believing that, oh, something may happen. No one wants our children to feel that way at all. I don't.
Yeah.
And I would think none of you ladies here tonight would either.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I hear that the statistics are very high with, assaults on college campuses, and that they never release the number to the public. So it's
they
just like
should.
something that stays on the campus, and we don't hear about
Nope.
it until, something else happens, and someone presses the issue. They
Now, is
just
that
kind of keep it on
because the
campus.
campus is private?
I don't know. I think, some of the story that I read of a few years ago. I mean, these were like some popular campuses, public campuses, and some of them were private campuses as well. And a lot of assaults, they just keep them right there on the campus. I guess they don't want to, have like a fear, with parents coming in, taking their kids out of the school. So I guess they try to prevent that. Going back to, again,
Right.
being a financial, they care more about the finances than the actual safety of their students on campus. Because they don't want, the parents like, oh no, my kid has to get out of here, and that's going to hit their pockets. So they rather just keep it under wraps than to release those numbers to what's going on there on the campus.
Yeah, I'm not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. No, but I think part of it too is, from at least from what I heard, I'm obviously not an expert on the thing, but that oftentimes they don't get police involved. So consequently, it's private security. So they don't have the same, standards of releasing the information that the police would. And I think even the police itself, technically, at least here in Canada, there's certain crimes that are just not reported publicly. It's just not considered a requirement for public information. So that might also be part of it, is the fact that it's being handled by a private security system, that they're under no legal requirement to make it public. So like you guys said, hey, any excuse to cover it up, any excuse to make it sound like, hey, everything is great, everything's wonderful at the school, you don't have to worry, is great. So unless it's a big case, unless, like you guys said, it's a big pushback, they're going to keep it mum, and they're going to keep it under wraps. They don't want this kind of publicity. It's not a good reputation for any school, no matter how, like, if you found out that 10 girls got I don't say the R word at Harvard University, you're not necessarily going to want to send your daughter to Harvard University, even though, okay, it's 10, it's not a huge number, but 10 is 10 too many, so
Yeah.
you're not going to want to put your daughter at risk,
And I don't like how they have it framed in that way, because like you were saying, some of it's financial. So if it's financial, if it's a main college like Harvard, that money is going to come from the state. So when the taxes are pulled from the people, it goes to the state, and then the state funds the school. So you have no say in it as a people to what happens on that campus. So it's immediately at that point private. So if that was to happen on a campus, that's wrong in itself through the state.
Yeah.
For not being published. Personally, I mean, that's just a thought, but I mean, to me, if I'm paying taxes in my state and something has been continuously going on at a college 5 miles down the road from me, and it's publicly not known through local media or local coverage, there's something wrong there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that, and that is something that has to be changed, because if it's a question of, you are at a school that is really a good school and really safe, and the worst thing that's going to happen to you is that somebody's going to pickpocket you and, oh, you're out $10 or whatever, that should still be known. It's, I think we all agree on the basic principle, but how do you get that information to be published? You know what I mean? It's like you still have to go to exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
You have to get the students involved. I mean, you're trying to get them involved in schooling, through kindergarten through 12 and on. You know what I mean? If they're involved, they need to be involved. And all parents want the children involved in school, but if they see something that's wrong, morally wrong, even bullying, People see other people get bullied all the time and they do nothing. They stand by and just watch. They know morally that that is wrong, and nothing is even said or done about it. They just let it go, and then next thing you know, some crazy stuff happens, like what happened in I don't even remember his name. I should know his name, but the boy that shot up the school
Yeah.
2 years ago. I mean, somebody should have seen something going on there before that happened, school wise, as in kids, because kids talk in class. They're on the phone in class. I mean, they communicate. I've been to school. I know what it's like. It's not like it's all hush hush and we're not telling nobody. The first way to reach out of the school is through the children.
Yes.
And that's the only way we're going to know what's going on in the school is through the children.
You're
But
right.
yeah, you're right. I mean, my problem with that though is at 18, let's say you're talking about college age students at 18, 19, maybe 20 years old, right?
Okay. Yep.
Is that 18-year-old really going to go to their parent or a school official or another adult or somebody to say, hey, I saw my classmate doing this, I saw that? Are they really going to be that type of person?
If you had an 18-year-old and you raised that child to not allow other people to beat up on them or harass them or assault them at any point in time, and if they could not do anything but to tell somebody so it would be stopped on that other person, would you teach them that?
Yeah, I mean, I would, but that's the thing, though. That's the big if.
So is it? You're right. So is it a teaching problem, or is it just people not wanting to speak up?
I think it's probably a combination of both. In my
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's both as well. Every parent is not teaching their kids these things.
Well, there's a lot of parents not being able to. Let's just say this. I mean, divorce rate is huge.
Yeah.
So you don't have the mother and the father in the home in a lot of cases, but in a lot of cases you do. So in the ones that are separated, the child's getting information from the mother, then going to school, getting off the school bus at the father's home, and then the father gives information. Child gets on the school bus, goes back to school. He's getting two different forms of information each day.
Yeah.
At that point. So, or he or she is getting information on how to go about different lives. And there's a mix up because that's a lot of information a child has to take in daily. You start getting up into the 18, 19 and college, the children at that point should know right from wrong, and you should or should not. I mean, that's a given. That's really a given.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, that given isn't given, unfortunately, these days. And, like I think we all touched upon it indirectly. What we see nowadays occurring is a whole multifaceted issue where you have all these little things that are going wrong that end up being a bigger picture issue. You know what I mean? So when you're talking about, Black women going missing, it's not just, there's part of it is, well, some of the Black women have problems with drug addictions. Some of them are getting involved with the wrong kind of guy. Some of them just, it's bad luck. They were in the wrong place, the wrong time. So it's all these little things put together. But when you're out here trying to resolve how do we protect Black women or women in general, people in general, even if you want to make it a let's protect human people, how do you deal with a problem that's not really a problem? It's a whole addition.
It's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. Exactly.
It starts as a problem. That's how it grows into a bigger problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost, and it's the same. Like if a woman is victimized, and I think we spoke on that earlier also, that they try to make you the victim and say, okay, well, what did you do wrong? Or they bring your lifestyle into the picture. And that's the same thing with missing women as well. If you have a certain reputation, or if you're from a certain neighborhood, they tend not to be in such a hurry to look for you if you go missing. They think that you were just off somewhere drinking, or you're just off somewhere doing drugs, or off
It's
somewhere with a
downtrodden.
man or whatever. And they don't, and they say, oh well, as soon as they finish, whenever they're not doing whatever they're doing, they'll come back, and they kind of drag their feet. I mean, and just like with kids, how they said, like, I think they changed it now, but how they would say that you have to wait what was it, 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever before you can call the police. And I think they've changed it now. I mean, I think they should.
It's been less than 24 for a long time.
Yeah.
For a child.
Yeah. And for adults, I mean, I think, well, I guess
24 hours for adults.
Yeah. But in that 24 hours, and if you have, like I said, a certain lifestyle, the 24 hours turns into 48 hours. They push it back if you're in a certain neighborhood, or if you live a certain lifestyle,
which is wrong.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter. It should.
Go
ahead. Sorry. No, ma'am. Go ahead.
That's how the Grim Sleeper was able to get away with killing so many women.
Oh yeah.
Because he targeted sex workers.
Mm-hmm.
And even just so many, all the way back to Jack the Ripper. It's sad. It's sad because no matter what, they still human beings. But that's what they said. The police would call them, oh, they're not human, or something like that. Yeah. No humans involved is what they called it. When
that's kind of sickening, because it shouldn't matter if it's a child or an adult. If somebody is missing and there's some subtle instance to where somebody says in the family, parent, grandmother, guardian at any point says something's not right here. It within the fastest time frame that they can. Now, I know this would probably overwork police, and this is just a thought, but if you report a person missing, that should be high priority at that point in time. Okay. That should, unless there's, an active shooting or something like that, like, you understand. But if an adult let's say goes missing within 24 hours, they should have the same amount of search as for a child, and a child should have even more than what they have now. Personally, I mean, they just found that child that was missing for 3 days, 5 miles in the woods from his home.
Yeah,
I think there's some sketchy stuff like that. I'm not going to get into it, but I don't like how long it took. I mean, there should be more at that point. There should be more police officers on duty doing searches like that if you have a missing persons case.
And we can also volunteer for search and rescues, because I used to work with a nurse who did that as well. Like when there's a call to action, like I said, it's going to take a village, because
that's right.
Whenever there's a search and rescue, we can do our part by volunteering to help too, and keeping an eye out, and just other things. Like I said, it's really just regular lay people that's solving cases a lot of the time, just by being nosy and concerned.
Exactly. I mean, and with the Meyer McConnell case a few weeks ago, her family and people in the neighborhood came together and searched for her, and I think that's how they eventually found her as well, because the community came together. I mean, and that's what you remember how years ago when you lived in a neighborhood, all the neighbors knew each other. Now it's like, with families being so busy, maybe both parents are working, or maybe there's only one parent in the house, you don't even know your neighbor. So if you need help with something, or if you need, because I remember when my daughter was little, they called it a latchkey kid. I don't know what they call it now, but and I was, because
latchkey. I haven't heard that forever.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm dating myself now, but yes, she was one of the original latchkey kids. And but my neighbor, she would walk home with the neighbor, and we would kind of switch off, like sometimes the neighbor would pick her up, or I would pick her up, and when I was off, and the neighbor, watched out for her or whatever. She was only home maybe an hour and a half before I got home from work. But you have to have that type of system with people that you trust in your
You do.
neighborhood to look out for your kid, and not just your kid, but look out for you too. If they see, some strange activity, at your house, and they know that you're at work, and they see some people that's just lurking around your house and that they know should not be there, instead of them just closing their blinds and saying, hey, that has nothing to do with me, they need to call 911, or they can have your number and call you at work to let you know what's going on, and just be more, participating with your neighbors, and just stop, living like you're on an island, like, hey, she lives over here, I live over here, and that has nothing to do with me. That's one way that I think that we're going to be able to try to, grasp a hold on some of these things. Just be more attentive of what's going on, which in your neighborhood.
It's a chain link. If you watch out for your neighbor to the left, and your neighbor to the left watches out for their neighbor to the left, it just, you can't stop it. From there on, it's a chain link. It's, like you said, we all got to watch out. And if we see something that doesn't seem right, that we constantly see day in and day out, then it needs to start bringing suspicion awareness. Like, hey, something's not right here. How often do you see a random person walk up to your, somebody just walking down the sidewalk and just turn into your neighbor's driveway and walk up to the front door? Somebody, especially somebody you don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all can see my shirt, but it says internet. What is it? Internet certified professional. So I think I have on my profile too that I'm a detective in my head anyway. It's like when I see stuff, I'm trying to put together things like, okay, well, that don't look right. If this happened to that way and what happened with that way, I'm trying to figure this thing out myself. Yeah.
But we're all detectives.
We all just wanted to we all wanted to quit. You know what I mean? It's just there's too much violence going on. And I don't know if the violence has always been there and it's just not been covered, or that the fact that as much media as we have today, that's their go-to, because it keeps everybody clammed up. It keeps everybody full of anxiety.
Yeah.
And
because
I think
if you
that's
think
another
about
thing.
it, years ago, we didn't have, I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
We didn't, years ago, we didn't have 24-hour coverage of news. Now, I don't care what time of day or night, if you get up in the middle of the night, you can turn on a channel and you can see news. It can be the repeat of something that happened earlier, or it can be something that just happened,
What type of news are they going to show you?
It's always going to be bad. It's never going to be.
It's going to be violent. It's going to be violent.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's good as a society to watch, just to sit down and watch.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think it would be better to sit down as a society and talk about the issue and try and solve it than it is just to hear it one-sided.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they say, oh, well, I heard it on the news, so they obviously right then and there think that it's a godsend truth, that there's nothing wrong with what they just heard. And I think that's wrong myself. If everything you turn on the channel right now, whatever channel you pick, and I promise you, it's going to have something to do with death. It's going to have to do something with pretty much death is their main topic right now. I mean, look at and let's not even say death. Let's just say cases. You could add cases to that. Let's see, coronavirus. 19 cases. All kind of different stuff. It's always going to be something to do with your health, something violent, or something that they're searching for. And it's been that way. It's been that way since, hell, I would say 2005. It was real heavy. I actually watched an article or a news stream this morning, the day of 2000 or 9/11, 2001. An hour before the trade towers were hit, that they were on the news, and one of the anchors said, man, it's a beautiful day out today. And he's in Times Square. He's like, it's a beautiful day out today. We just need that wind. We would love some wind. It's like, you don't hear that no more at all. Yeah. It's scripted. You got two people sitting at a desk reading off of a prompt. That's it. That's their job. It's I don't like the violence, man. The violence it's got to halt at some point. There's always a wall or detour that it has to chase around. And I think with the people coming together, that's the only way it's going to happen.
Exactly. So, guys, what are some of your closing statements, or what do you think with some final solutions that you think that we can get a grip on, or what we can do to so we don't have so many cases of these missing women? What do you think that we can do to try to prevent that?
Just like I say, community awareness and community involvement. It's gonna take all of us to kind of just. We all have to watch. All the good guys got to watch our each other's back against the bad guys, because we all have blind spots,
Yeah.
and we don't have eyes behind our head. So we have to just be vigilant and doing right and being just, and have, like I say, having each other's backs, watching the neighborhood kids, watching, the neighborhood adults,
Yeah.
people who just, they may, like I say, they may have blind spots that they don't see certain things, and you can help them. You know what I mean? And I think that's the key.
Okay. She stole my thunder. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with community solutions, and I'll add that just do whatever you need to do to protect yourself. If you need to take self-defense classes, martial arts, get a gun, just do whatever you need to do. If you don't have a community, at least try to be your own best self-defender as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Unheard
would,
PSL.
yes, ma'am. I would say that we got to recognize that we're not better than we're no better than anyone else.
Mm.
I promise you, there will always be someone better than you. You have to, bring humbleness into your life and know that we're all sent here by God. So we're all here as a community, as one. Wherever we disparted from and figured out, we're going to figure it out on our own. We got to come back to as a whole, as a group, and look out for each other. No, it has nothing to do with it. We're here on Earth as a group. That's it, and that's all we got.
Yeah.
We all witness the same things, and we go through the same things. It may not be at the same time, but it may be at some point in your life you go through it. But you'll understand at some point, and it's love, man. That's all it is. It's love. You got to give that love.
Kumbaya.
All you need is love. You're gonna start reciting. What is that? Who is that? The Beatles. All we need is love.
No, I didn't listen to the Beatles. I didn't listen to the Beatles.
What? You didn't listen to the Beatles?
Nah, I mean California Dreaming. No, that was Mamas and Papas, wasn't it? My bad.
He's too young for that kind of music. He doesn't know that. He's all about that hip hop and rap.
No, ma'am, not at all, not at all. No, I love the Mamas and Papas and Journey and all them. They're good groups.
We need JP, the aspiring matriarch, on here now to drop a song. Just when we say, just drop a song.
Yeah, I think she has her own live going on right now. But hey.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank y'all for allowing me to come on and just chat with y'all for a little bit. Sorry, like I said, I'm really long-winded.
No, that's fine.
But,
yeah, we're glad we can get a male perspective on things. We can always use y'all's perspective, on different topics. Even if it's a topic that's just supposedly about for women, we can always use, a male opinion on it. So I appreciate
we're all here together. We're all here together.
Yeah. And you're gonna have to, follow so that you
can.
I will.
I got that subscribe button.
Okay.
With the like.
And also subscribe to their channel. They both have channels as well.
Okay.
She Stole My Thunder. That's her channel, and Community Solutions. Subscribe to them as well. And I've been on their lives before. And they both, and they're both back and forth to different platforms as well, and they always bring great perspectives on on everybody's platform.
Awesome. You
Some of
ladies
them,
have been wonderful.
some of them
Thank
last
y'all.
kind of late though. So I hope you can hang, because some of them last a long
Oh,
time. So I hope
I
you
can
can
hang. I've been on a 6-hour chat. I'll try my best. I'll try my best.
Okay. All right. So just follow them as well, and
Yes,
just drop
ma'am.
in, whenever you see, something that's going on.
All righty. Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you, ladies.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Ladies, I appreciate you being here tonight. This has been a very interesting conversation. You all always y'all always bring the pain. Y'all always bring it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Thank
me
you
too.
too. Okay. And so when are y'all shows, what are y'all next subjects that's gonna be coming up?
Mine is going to be the talking about movies on
Okay.
Saturday at 8 p.m.
Okay.
That's the one I have officially planned. And like you said, I'll probably be hopping from to and from different live streams and so forth, and popping my head in and seeing how I can help out in everybody else's live stream. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Community Solutions? What's your next live?
Well, I am coordinating right now with Uncle Stu, but I do want to do a show on with you on criminality.
Okay.
Just safety issues, as well
Mhm.
as things that we can do to improve our community that's within our reach. Things that within
Okay.
our reach that we can do. So I'll be touching base with you. Your email is in your about section.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
And
yeah,
I'm also trying to find somebody, maybe a guy. It doesn't have to necessarily be a guy. Somebody who can come on and tell us about some different, self-defense type tactics and things like that. So I'm trying to find somebody for that. So I think that would be something great for the three of us, because we all seem to see eye to eye on that, for us to do. If I can find somebody, or if y'all know of anybody that we can get to do a panel with on that as well.
Well, we have Black Belt Sensei. He probably would be open to it, because I did we when we did a live together. Who were we with? I don't know if it was My Favorite Pharmacist or My Vivid Life, but we mentioned to him that it would be nice if he could make a video. Not, it doesn't have to be his platform now, but if he can make another YouTube channel showing some self defense techniques.
Okay.
And he
Okay.
said it'd be kind of hard to demonstrate on. I guess he'd have to have a partner, because karate takes two people. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, karate takes two people in order to properly demonstrate. But I thought that would be a great idea, because in this day and time, it's just good for
Yeah.
for us to know how to do that. And with everybody quarantining at home, I'm sure he'd get a lot of views from all communities, because it's just good information to know.
Exactly.
But I'll reach out to him on his email and ask him if he'd be if he'd like to add some insight on one of your panels as a black belt. I think he's a karate instructor. Yeah, I believe he
Okay.
did say he's an instructor.
Okay.
So
That'll be great.
I'll reach out to him. And Uncle Stu was I think Uncle Stu said he was an NYPD. So if anybody knows something, he do.
Yeah.
And let's see who else we know.
And there's another guy. I think I followed him. I can't think of his name right now, but I saw him on the lead attorney's channel. So I have to go back and go through my subscriptions to see what his name is. And he said he's retired now, but he's a former police officer. And I wanted to kind of reach out to him and see if maybe he can give some input, since he was on the police force and everything. So I think that would be great too. And then another thing with the time changing early now, it's like when you get off work, or if you going to the store or something, by 5:30, 6 o'clock, it's already dark. So that would be a great subject for us to do, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah,
agree.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. But we'll get
Okay.
it together, ladies. I think we all have each other's contact information. But if y'all want to contact me, for anything, my email is in there. And if you want like my cell phone number, I can also put my cell phone number in there as well. If y'all just wanted to call me and actually just talk about it instead of just emailing me, I can do that too. So just let me know.
Yeah. Well, just
Thank you.
yeah. Is it in the private chat or what? What do you
I
have?
don't have it in the private chat. I can put it
But I
in there.
think email is sufficient for me. I
Okay.
can just email you and we can exchange because it's
Okay.
just so many. These folks are crazy. People tell me it's YouTube it gets rough for
Oh
YouTubers
yeah.
with the
Yeah.
crazies. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
So.
you do have
Okay.
to be mindful. Yeah. Yeah. For me too, if
Hmm.
I need your cell phone, I'll let you know by email. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think before the billions he has my cell phone number. So
Yeah.
if he wants to give it to you, I don't mind him. I don't have a problem with him giving it to you as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Cool.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
All
thank you,
righty.
ladies, so much. I hope I didn't keep y'all too late. I know everybody has to get up early tomorrow and run errands and do what they do. So
Don't
No,
worry.
no, you didn't keep me too late. I'm a night owl and I grab my naps where I can. So
girl,
Exactly.
if I take a nap, oh my God, I would be up all night. I'm telling you, me and naps. The only time I can do a nap is on the weekend. Otherwise, I would be up all night. I'm telling you. Yeah. But thank you, ladies, so much, and y'all have a good
okay.
night. And I'm sure
All
I'll see
right.
y'all again on another stream.
Thank you.
Okay.
You
She's so
too.
much
Yeah,
for
for
the
Okay.
sure.
thunder. I'll see you Saturday.
For sure. Thank you, Comedian
Okay.
Solution. Have a good night,
Okay.
ladies.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
Good night.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.